Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and this is 4 Paws in a Book. I make book and lifestyle related content, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Today I have a book haul for you. So I have bought more books. We're doing better in our numbers, but we're still not there. So let's talk about where we ended. At the end of October, I ended up with 258 physical unread books. 258 books I own and have not read. And yet I still walk into bookstores. It's fine. We have to figure out something for next year. I gotta come up with something. Either that or I just have to come to terms with the fact that book buying and book reading are very different hobbies. And I can enjoy both of them. 258 books. I did do a massive unhaul. You can check it out up there. All of the books that are still available are on my Pango if you are interested in any of them. And I unhauled 33 books that were originally on my TBR. So that brings our number back down to 225 books, which is great. And then in November, I read 10 books that I owned like prior to the start of the month. So that brings us back down to 215, which is probably the lowest I've ever gone, right? Like, it's not quite the 200 that I wanted to be at before Christmas, but still pretty good. Still pretty good. Unfortunately, I have 24 books to talk to you about today. Let's start with the books that I have already read, because those ones are not going to count against my TBR number, obviously. So we have Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake. I actually read this one as an ARC, but then I had a pre-order of it, obviously. This is a 5-star read. This series is one of my favorites of the year. This is about Astrid, obviously, who is dealing with breaking off her engagement to a shitty man. And then she ends up starting to work with Jordan and realizes that she's not as straight as she thought she was. As someone who came out as bisexual in my late 20s, this is something that was very relatable to me, something that I resonated with on such a deep personal level, which is why it was 5 stars for me. I also have Shipwrecked by Olivia Dade. I've talked about this one in my most recent wrap-up, so I'm not gonna rehash this, but this is the 3rd book in the Spoiler Alert series, and Olivia Dade does plus-size characters so well, and this was a great finale to this series, and I'm really excited to see what Olivia does next. Okay, also Love on the Brain by Allie Hazelwood. I also talked about this one in my November wrap-up. I'm going to be talking about it in my Goodreads Choice Awards video, and everyone is surprised, including me, but I actually really like this book. Okay, I have The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is the 1st book in the Dreamland Billionaires. I also talked about this one in my November wrap-up, and this is kind of like a play on Disney, and it is about the grandson of the owner and one of the creators, and it's kind of a rivals to lovers, hate to love kind of thing. It's really good. I've had a good time with it. One that I did not have a good time with is It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I'll talk more about it in my Goodreads Choice Awards, but this is the sequel to It Ends With Us, and it was a cash grab. This book was a cash grab. We don't need to talk about it. You can watch my Goodreads Choice video that's coming out next week. Okay, so those books did not count. Now let's talk about books that I have for projects or that are on my December TBR, so that I know that they are coming off of the TBR immediately. We have A Merry Little Meet Cute by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. This is going to be the group book for the rom-comathon that is happening as you're watching this, I think tonight. I think it starts tonight as you're watching this. So you can join us. And this is about an adult film star who gets cast in a Hallmark movie, and the romance between her and the love interest of the movie, who is a washed up boy band artist, I think. So this should be a lot of fun. Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone write very different types of books, so very excited to see how this works. I have 3 of the Spiffbo finalists that I'm going to be reading. I'm trying to like slowly collect them. Scales and Sensibility I've talked about quite a bit on my channel so far, so I'm not gonna like rehash this. This is a Regency rom-com, but with dragons, like Jane Austen if there were dragons. And then Fire of the Forebears by L.A. Buck. This is a very classic fantasy with the daughter of a thief, I think, the son of a king, I'm not really sure. Family legacy, family drama, all that fun stuff. Might be a little bit of a romance in here, I don't really know. But this one scares me a little bit. Okay, and then also Cruel God, nope, The 13th Hour. It looks like it should be The Cruel Gods, but that's the series title. The book title is The 13th Hour. This is a steampunk fantasy, which I am very excited about. This is about, obviously, cruel gods, and I think trying to overthrow them, which sounds lots of fun. And then the 3 books that I am reading for the Goodreads Choice Awards video that I'm doing, Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I don't know what this is about, to be honest, but it kind of feels more women's fiction. It's blurbed by Jodi Picoult. This is about, like, I think a woman who like has to go home for a summer, left her life for a decade and then has to come back to her childhood home. And there's gonna be a romance, I hope, because it's on the romance Goodreads Choice finalist. And then we have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This is kind of like an opposites attract type of romance between a surgeon or a doctor and a carpenter who is like much younger than she is. So I've heard really good things about this one, so I'm very excited to read that. And then The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I'm not sure that I'm going to be reading this one. Actually, both of these made the top 20 but didn't make the top 10, so I'm gonna really try to read them before the video comes out, but I don't know if I'll quite get to them because I'm trying to get this video out very quickly. So we'll see. But this is a bodyguard romance, obviously, but it's gender bent, where the woman is the bodyguard and like he has to take her back to his family's like ranch in Texas, I think, and like they have to pretend to date rather than like her being the bodyguard. So it sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Okay, now books that don't necessarily have a project associated with them, but or at least that I know of yet. First up, I was sent A Wizard's Dream by the author who asked me to review this. This is an indie fantasy, sorry, there's a really bad glare, about a dreamsayer who roams the mystical plains forged by the wizards, and she ends up in the underworld and faces horrors lurking there. I'm not really sure, but I do think that this handles a lot of like mental health issues, which is why I was interested in it. So I will be reviewing this early next year. Then we have Pines by Blake Crouch. I've read all of his new stuff and really liked it, so I kind of want to look at his backlist and see what I think. I believe Michelle from Michelle's Library read this one earlier this year and really liked it, so I'm excited to see. We might end up doing like a new series next year where we like see if an author is a favorite author, and this could be one of them. I was gifted Wild as the Witch by Maja. It was in Cassidy's Patreon. We did a like Secret Santa kind of thing, but in November. So I was gifted Wild as the Witch. This is the same author who wrote The Nature of Witches, which I have not read yet, but I need to. This is a fantasy, like a witchy fantasy. It still has like this beautiful naked cover. Her cover designers are amazing because The Nature of Witches is the same. This is a contemporary fantasy romance, and I believe like the world is like everyone knows that there are witches and there is magic, and I'm not really sure much else about this, but I have heard a lot of people talk about it, so we'll see. I pre-ordered Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. This is the second book in the Legendborn series. I have not read it yet. Probably won't get to it until 2023 because I do want to reread Legendborn, but I have heard some really good things about it and I'm very excited to get back into this world. Next up, we have Healer of the Water Monster by Brian Young. I was supposed to read this in November and did not quite get to it because I had so many other things, and then I got COVID. So did not quite get to it. This is a middle grade Indigenous story about a boy who is trying to save the water monster using the help of the spirits that come to help him. So this sounds really, really cute. I'm not adding this one to my TBR number because I'm just replacing a copy, but I found a really cheap hardback copy of King of Stars by Leigh Bardugo, and I'm trying to like swap out the paperbacks for the hardcovers when I can find them. And this one is so pretty. But I already have this. Like, this one's technically already on my TBR, so the number is not changing. Lastly, I have my book of the month box, and I weirdly enough have 5 books from book of the month this month. This is the first time in like 4.5 years where the books that came in were not the books that I ordered, and so they are fantastic. Their customer service is really great, and so I just emailed them and I was like, hey, 2 of the 3 books that I have in my box are not the ones that I ordered, and they're like, oh, that's fine, keep those 2, and we'll just send you the ones that you wanted. So I have 5 books, which is great. So let's see what the 2 that I don't know anything about are The Last Party by Claire McIntosh and Signal Fires by Dani Shapiro. So let's see what they're about. One night, one fateful choice, a constellation of lives changed forever. Signal Fires opens on a summer night in 1985. 3 teenagers have been drinking. One of them gets behind the wheel of a car. In an instant, everything on Division Street changes. Riveting, deeply felt novel that examines the ties that bind families together and the secrets that can break them apart. So, like that. I did make sure that this person is not related to, what's his name? Ben Shapiro? I did make sure. Which sounds funny, but it's not. And then The Last Party by Claire McIntosh. At midnight, one of them is dead. By morning, all of them are suspects. Seems like an Agatha Christie type thing. On New Year's Eve, Reese Lloyd has a house full of guests. I can't speak today. His vacation homes on Mirror Lake are a success, and he's generously invited the village to drink champagne with their wealthy new neighbors. But by midnight, Reese will be floating dead in the freezing waters of the lake. On New Year's Day, Fife and Morgan has a village full of suspects. The tiny community is her home, so the suspects are her neighbors, friends, and family. And Fifon, I think I might be saying that name wrong, has her own secrets to protect. With a lie uncovered at every turn, soon the question isn't who wanted Reese dead, but who finally killed him. In a village with this many secrets, murder is just the beginning. This actually sounds really good. So I'm really glad I got that. Okay? Now, the ones that I actually wanted were The Rewind by Alison Wynne Scotch. This takes place on the eve of the millennium, 1999, so some Y2K vibes, and it is about 2 exes who like broke up in college, vowed to never speak to each other again, and then a decade later wake up with wedding bands on their finger in bed together. So, there's the second chance romance type of thing. I don't know. Sounds kind of fun. Then we have White Horse by Eric T. Worth. I've been hearing a lot about this. This is an Indigenous horror, and it deals a lot with generational trauma and like family stuff. And I think it's about a woman who is trying to find her mother, or her mother died, and she's like speaking to the spirit of her mother. I'm not really sure. And then we have The Cloisters by Kathy Hayes. This is a beautiful cover. It is kind of an urban fantasy with like tarot cards. This book has shocking secrets and a mysterious deck of tarot cards that spark a deadly power game within a close-knit group of researchers. So this sounds really good as well. Okay, so that puts us back up to 232 books, which is better than when we ended last month, thanks to that giant unhaul. But that is all I have for you today. Let me know what books you are excited for me to read, and I'll talk to you in the comments below. If you're new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video. And if you'd like to hang out with me more, the links to my Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, and my Patreon are linked in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.